Ned, good to see you. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And to get started, tell us a little bit about your journey in research.
Sure. So I come from a product management background originally, building digital products. So much of that is about design and understanding like who your customers are and what problems they've got to solve. So I sold my first company to GoDaddy back in 2015 and joined their director of product trying to integrate our platform with GoDaddy's. And not only was that a great experience from a product management perspective and prioritization, but it also helped me realize how painful running research can be in large companies. So I often call it my like villain origin story. I get in there, I'm like trying to understand what their customers were, what their problems were, and how we might solve them. And all I got was donuts. The research team was great, very well resourced, but they didn't have enough time and energy to work on my projects. They couldn't give me access to past research so I could understand what do we already know. And their tools that they used were too expensive for them to want to give access to me. So from that, I set about to go and solve this problem of like, how do we empower the non-researchers, the PMs, the designers, and the marketers to be able to do research to a certain standard while supercharging the real professionals. And so that's how I built Great Question. And to give you a bit of background on Great Question, we're an all-in-one UX research platform designed to democratize research. Our customers are hardcore UX researchers, research ops teams, but also the people they support, the PMs, the designers, the marketers. And we do this with by combining a research CRM to recruit the right people to your study, all the methods, surveys, use prototype tests, and then a research repository. And so that's why folks like Amazon and ServiceNow or Canva, Brex, Asana use us as their research platform of choice.
Awesome. No, thanks for that story. And a lot of that resonates with what we see working with companies. Like you have old research, where is it? How can we access it? What do we need to redo?
Nightmare.
So yeah, totally resonate with that. Let's stay on democratization for a second. I know this is, I feel like this is a newer thing in the past, maybe like 5 years, where you're getting away from like the PhD 6-month research studies, and PMs are like, no, I need to go talk to users now. And I wonder what, because like if I talk to a UX researcher, they're like that might not be good enough research. But and then the other side of that coin is it's some research, it's better than nothing. How do you advise teams to like what's the right path? I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are wondering.
I mean, the classic like researcher line is it depends. And I think
Sure.
in the design category, I think about, I can vibe code a prototype and then maybe I can go and ship it. But look, if it's going to impact a lot of people or it's going to be in really public or it's going to have a lot of users or I've got high like technology, security, compliance issues, look, I'm going to go and hire a really highly qualified designer to go and
Yeah.
make this pixel perfect consumer experience that thinks about all these problems deeply. And so I think it's not that dissimilar to research. And on the research side, there's a million decisions that every organization needs to make every day, right? A PM's got to decide button colors and texts and fonts and all this kind of stuff. There just aren't enough researchers on the planet to go and answer all those questions. And so unless we have a researcher ready and available to go and run some usability testing or whatnot, you need to empower the PM or designer to go and do that. Because the alternative is they're just going to make the decision's going to get made, right? So it's either going to be made on gut instinct, which is like full of bias, or it's going to be made on like the highest paid person's opinion, and that's got its own set of problems. It's their bias, right? And they're even further removed from the customer. So, the way that we view it, Dylan Field at Figma has this great quote, which is what they're trying to do for designers is lower the floor who can get into design while raising the ceiling of what's possible for our best practitioners. And it's not that dissimilar here when I come to democratization. The other analogy would be medicine. People are like, well, you're not trying to democratize brain surgery, right? I think Elon Musk is actually trying to democratize brain surgery, but the idea that we are in many ways trying to democratize medicine, where you've got physicians' assistants who are doing many of the functions that doctors would traditionally do. Pharmacists are giving out medicine over the counter and advising people as they're handing out prescriptions. And so it's kind of similar. There are certain low risk areas where the problem area is fairly well understood, like things like usability testing is a great example, where absolutely we should be empowering non-researchers here.
Love that. Let's switch to AI. I have a few questions.
All
One's more
right.
of like a theory of mine. And I think Stanford Social Media Lab 2 weeks ago said AI is contributing to like a 40% increase in what they call work slop. And this goes to the idea of just because you can prototype it and, put an idea out there does not mean it should be built. And I think we as an agency were fighting this before research. It's like, whoa, 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 you already have feature creep. It's already a confusing interface, and now you're getting more and more people feeling, which is great. They're part of the, it's a better way for them to communicate. They can prototype something, but you have to go validate these ideas. So I'm very bullish on research with AI. I think it's going to drive an even bigger need for quality research when there's so much feature contribution.
Totally. Yeah, I think for me, I love all these AI prototyping tools. Like I just think they're incredible. Because as a PM, I think many PMs, we're kind of frustrated designers, right? We like wish that I could go and do the skill
Sure.
and craft that you've got, and even frustrated with my own prototypes because they're never quite as good as what you could go and get with a professional. But I'm able to communicate my ideas now at a much greater fidelity than I ever could before. Am I going to go and ship it to production? No. Right. I'm really just like painting very broad strokes. It's Duplo. It's not Lego. It's not Technics. And so I think that's really powerful. But to your point, I think now that the speed of product development and design is sped up so fast, something that would typically take me a week to write a PRD and produce a prototype, I can now do in a morning. You need design, you need research to go and keep pace with that because this is how you get away from producing slop. You got a prototype. Is it great or is it slop? The best way to answer that question, get it in front of customers. And so how do we make that process more efficient? And so that's a lot of what we're building now is you can give us a link from a Lovable, a Vercel, a Bolt, or any of these sort of tools. Press a button, we will produce the full prototype test for you. You can start sharing that link with your audience, or we can find the audience for you, or we can connect to your CRM to recruit your own customers. And suddenly you're able to get feedback on that, positive feedback to understand what to do. The most exciting part of this is we're then feeding that feedback back into those models to go and produce variants. So again, I think this comes back to how do we empower our customers to be able to communicate their ideas of what they're looking for your product to solve for them in a high fidelity way. These AI prototype testing tools are able to do that as well. Say, hey, cool, you've given us this feedback. Here's a new version. Would this actually solve what you're talking about? Is how you're thinking about the world, the mental model? Then it's up to you or the PM or the designer to decide whether to take that and implement it. People just want the faster horse, or go and show them some new world of how you view the product space.
Exactly. But let's go to another AI question. I mean, I hear a lot about synthetic users and, automated AI run user interviews, moderated, unmoderated, like by a robot. Where is this headed?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm a big fan of AI moderation. I think there's a lot of fear around it, but the mental model I think about is effectively it's just a survey. Like, let's pump our brakes a little bit. It's not replacing a full-time UX researcher running a moderated interview or a designer or a PM. It's a survey that you can talk to, that can talk back, that can ask follow-up questions. So when you frame it that way as a supercharged survey, it gets much less scary, but also gets more powerful because we are able to ask the follow-up questions. So we don't just get the net promoter score. All right, we gave you a 7. Tell us why. And you're like, it sucks. You're like, no, we're actually able to say, why did it suck? Ask the follow-up questions. You can do it in the middle of the night. It actually, though, opens up a whole world of new problems for us, which is one, if I can run 1,000 interviews overnight with my 1,000 autonomous agents, or in 5 minutes I could run 1,000 interviews, we now have new problems of like, well, should we run all those interviews? And who should we run them with? Because we've got risk of burning out all of our customers or non-customers, spending huge budgets. And do we actually even need to run the research at all? And so that's a lot of the work that we're doing as well around democratization to help you understand what is the most impactful questions you should be asking and to whom at the right time, and protecting your audience. Traffic management, orchestration. The second side is our AI agents can now go and produce 1 million insights overnight. They can go and analyze all your existing data, all the data from these 1,000 interviews they run. But how do we avoid the work slop, to your earlier thing from the Stanford thing? How do we avoid DDoSing our leadership team with 1,000 reports? They're like, I can only consume so much. So we need to go and figure out orchestration and traffic control on that. I think on the synthetic data thing, there's a lot of FUD online around this, fear, uncertainty, doubt around if you really care about your customers, you'd go and talk to them. Ethically wrong to go and use synthetic data, but there's tons of great use cases for it. I actually would suggest we actually already use synthetic data to some extent. When we look at the Nielsen-Norman usability heuristics, right? It's a framework for how to think about applying what we already know about human behavior to a design, right? That's
Sure.
effectively what a lot of the synthetic data is using. It's just that it's far more complex. It's not just taking Nielsen Norman's view on what these 10 usability heuristics it is. It's able to tailor it to your particular audience and what they particularly care about, what matters to them. And so I'm really excited about it. We're implementing some lightweight versions of it. I think the technology's got a long way to go and get great, but I think the opportunity is totally there that we can leverage synthetic data for certain use cases. And the thing that I would say is to build synthetic data requires first having interaction with a real customer. And so it's not like research is ever going to go away. It's essential to go and feed this synthetic data. And synthetic data goes out of date because people change, audiences change, ICPs change,
Yeah.
cultural issues happen in the world. And so, yeah, I think it's never been a better time to be in the world of UX research.
I love that. I love the optimism there. Well, speaking to that, what advice do you have for people that are maybe just coming out of school or looking to break into this field today?
Yeah, I think it's a super scary time to be coming straight out of school to be junior, but I also think I'm super optimistic and I think it's really exciting. It's exciting because you are effectively the first AI native generation that's come out. All these old heads, all the more experienced folks that are out there doing stuff, they're having to go and learn these new things and it's really challenging. They don't have a massive amount of time, which is what you have to go and rip into all these tools and really understand them and build things with them. And I think it's going to make you an absolute monster, but you have to be leaning into this stuff. And every company on the planet is desperately trying to hire people with deep experience building and shipping products in this category. I think back to my time when I was, a young buck first entering the industry and building things, and it was really tough. I'm a marketer by trade. Originally, I studied marketing, went into product management and entrepreneurship in general, but I would need to go and find engineers to go and build anything. And learning to code was so onerous. You have none of those problems. And so I think building businesses and building products, whether they're businesses or not, has never been easy. You should lean into this and it's going to make you highly, highly employable. And so I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. Love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and I'd love to hear from anyone, particularly if you are AI native and you're looking for your next role, looking to find things to go and work on. Drop me a line, ned@greatquestion.co. You can find me on LinkedIn, find me on Twitter.